Well, I'm not completely about the gut. I'm still a data guy, so let's put some numbers to it. When they've run this experiment with groups of people and they ask the group to do something with palm up, they'll get 84% of them willing to do it. As soon as they turn the palm down and ask people to do it that way, then half the people are going to start resisting now. And with the finger point, almost nobody's going along with it. Only 28% will do what they're asked. So lots of power just in changing just what you do with your hands in terms of your connection to people, how much they trust and how much they like you. And there's a reason for this. Again, you're exposing the vulnerable areas on your wrist. This is showing I trust you and they'll like you in return. You'll see primates do this too. Putting their hand out is a way of showing that they're trusting. And so now you know the secret of why the politicians do this. And you'll think of this every time you see them in debates. They're trying to show openness and likability. At least when they're in control of their emotions. When they start getting angry at each other, that's when you start seeing the interesting body language, the fingers coming out and the palms coming down. And that's partly why I chose this picture when we were talking about the first impressions. He's showing confidence with his posture, but he's also got the open palms. They teach us at Disneyland to not point with their finger. They teach them to point and gesture with their palm because of how it's received. All right, now another element that is again a balancing act. That could be either a friend signal or a foe signal. They found that if people see you straight on, you tend to be seen as more open and trustworthy as opposed to angled out. So if we're interacting with people, if we're standing and talking, we usually don't square off. We usually stand at an angle. That's neither good or bad. There's pros and cons to both. But if I want to increase the engagement, then we can face each other directly. People will immediately feel that it's a stronger, more intense listening interaction when you're facing each other. This is called fronting, where you point with your head, your torso, and your toes at the person. Greatly increases the engagement level. Two caveats with that is if they have some social anxiety, maybe that's too intense. If you try to face them as you're talking to them and you see them fold their arms across their chest or they angle out more, something like that, it might be too uncomfortable for them. In which case, don't force the issue. You can angle out and mirror their body language to help make sure they're comfortable. The other time you wouldn't want to face someone in front with somebody is if it's getting confrontational. Because if him and I are having an argument and then I square off to him, that escalates it. And it's actually a tip for conflict resolution. If two people are arguing, you can back up and give someone space to help diffuse the situation. Besides those two caveats, you can face the person to show that you really care about what they're saying and that you're really listening. Even in a conference room or an interview seat, you can pivot your chair and front with the people that you're talking to. So I had a junior engineer that was working for me at one time who was sitting in a meeting with a bunch of senior engineers, architects, and managers, and he had a strong opinion on what direction the project should go, but people weren't really paying much attention to him. They weren't giving him much respect and listening to him. And so exactly 30 minutes into the 60-minute meeting, he says, all right, I'm going to try these body language ninja tricks. And he shut his laptop so that there wouldn't be anything blocking him with connecting with other people. He kept his hands up on the table, and he started pivoting his chair to listen in front with whoever was talking. And he said he was shocked at how quickly it changed the whole dynamic of the meeting. People started fronting back at him and engaging with him, making eye contact. And he was able to then start to sway the direction the project was going. And that makes sense, because what do most people do in meetings? They're sitting on their laptop, and then you got this guy over here that's actually looking at me, and it's like, oh, he actually cares what I have to say. I'm drawn towards that now, and I'm going to listen to him and interact with him more. So fronting could be a powerful way of connecting. Just watch for those caveats. That is hack number 9. Our friend body language cues. Eye contact, but not creepy staring into their soul eye contact. Open palms. And then I didn't talk about these as much. I'll just touch on them. But as I said before, we distance from things that we don't like. If you want to show that you do like somebody, then do the opposite. Try to close that gap within reason. Nodding and head tilting is an interesting one. The head tilt is a nonverbal way to show that you're listening, and nodding can encourage people to keep talking. Not too fast or it seems impatient, especially if you're looking at your watch. But just a slow nod encourages people that, hey, I'm listening, keep going. And then smiling, we already know that that's a huge friend cue, and the height differences and things like that we talked about. The unblocking one I want to talk about if we get time. Where do you sit in an interview? I have a video I want to show with that, but start thinking about that with this concept of if we don't like something, we're going to put obstacles between us. An interview table could become an obstacle to you connecting with the interviewer. So having that in mind, and where should you sit? We'll try to touch on that as well.